This is The Professionals, a podcast by music business technology and broadcast media technology students on Outcast OCCR Owens Community College Radio. In this series, students will interview industry professionals in their respective fields to help gather an idea of what it's like to work in their industry.
My name is Akei Coffman, and we're back again with the Industry Professional Podcast. Engineering for me today is Russell Garanbach. Today we're going to be interviewing Steve Bratton, working out of the Broadmoor Hotel in Colorado Springs, Colorado. Was it a dream to move somewhere and go somewhere nice and sunny and bright and get a good job there in media, or was it just something that you sort of fell into?
I'd say I pretty much fell into it after 21 years in television back in Toledo. I decided that I wanted to do something different. Came out here and got a job with the Broadmoor learning video for them.
You said that you started in Toledo in television. What sort of got you into the television industry to begin with?
It was back when WTOL was getting the chopper, 98-ish, somewhere in there. I worked at another firm in town that did forensic video, but we also dabbled in 3D animation. And I was approached to make an animation featuring the chopper that they were going to get, and I did so, and they used it in the open, and I interviewed for a job with TOL and was hired on the spot.
It was actually a little bit of a mix between running boards and animating that got you in?
Well, I did computer animation, 3D photorealistic animation, and my work doing that was seen by the station, and they're like, hey, this kid probably can do what we need him to do.
For sure.
So I started there just as a camera op, and 21 years later, ended up running the engineering department and was a director there.
So you went to school for this, right?
No, it was all learned in the animation was self-taught, and the career at WTOL was basically on-the-job training.
That's interesting. What skills do you feel set you apart when it came to maybe somebody that did go to school for this? Or obviously you had a love for it. If you're gonna teach yourself animation, that's not something that everybody does. So is that maybe something that set you apart when it came to people that actually are okay, I'm gonna go to school to do this?
Well, determination and ability, aptitude. I think it was seen by the older engineers that were running the department at the time, and I'd never really thought of getting in front of a camera. My thing was always behind the camera, whether it was wiring up stereo systems and TVs and staying on the cutting edge of what was new in programs that were available on computers, such as the animation Lightwave 3D that I used. I had the aptitude to learn whatever I needed to know to do the job that they needed filled.
And you knowing these different softwares and these different programs kind of set you apart when it came to that, because at the turn of the century, it was a lot of new techniques and new programs coming out that what a lot of these TV companies weren't using themselves. Yeah,
I mean, I'm speaking outside of my knowledge because I don't know 100% what caused them to hire me in the first place, but I would say the aptitude and the ability to learn anything they wanted to initiate and use in the station.
The first company you worked for was WTOL 11, Toledo, Ohio. You stayed there for 21 years.
Correct.
While you were there, did you outside of your personal your personal development, did you do anything else while you were working to improve your skills or to take you to that next level? Basically, in a television station type situation, they make corporate decisions and buy equipment for multiple stations at a single time. Mm-hmm. And you constantly have to be up to date on the newest hardware and software. I think I went through 4 different switchers: Grass Valley, Ross, Snell and Wilcox. I mean, different boards come and go, and you've got to learn the new board, and you got to be able to teach other people that maybe aren't at your skill level how to use the board, because we all do the same shows. I did get sent to Bowling Green for a course in Adobe After Effects that I really never used after I got my certification. Basically, in television, it's kind of different than, say, an accounting degree or something where it's numbers
versus in television, it's new equipment. So you constantly have to be able to adapt. To go from when I started, we used to sling what we called 1-inch tape. And you might be familiar with like a reel-to-reel audio player.
Yes, sir.
Back in the 60s. What we did when I first started the station, that's how we ran Oprah. It was on 1-inch tape. And you hang each show, and that was before they did Betamax and cassettes. And then when I left, by that time we were doing it all on servers. The technology changed over time. Everything went computer.
So when you got into it, it wasn't even digital yet.
Correct. It was an analog world when I went in.
What can you say has been the toughest challenge of your career? Something that you maybe had to try a little bit harder at to master or to conform to your way of life?
I would say, to be honest, the toughest thing I had to deal with was some of the stories I had to cover. Being out in the field, shootings or severe weather, tornadoes, that type of stuff. Aside from that, if I had to say a technical thing, I would say the hardest thing for me to learn was the satellite truck. Very few people ran that satellite truck because it was, once again, in its infancy. We were the very first digital satellite truck in Toledo. A lot of math.
You said it's a lot of math?
Yeah. Now, they don't even use satellite trucks that much anymore, but in the day.
I appreciate you saying it from the first perspective, though, because these stories that you cover, and whether it's a fire, a building burning down, somebody getting shot, somebody getting hurt, inclement weather, it's not only that you're covering it. As soon as you clock out, you're a citizen again, like you're a person again. So you pretty much have to deal with these stories that you're covering, just like the people that you air them to have to deal with them.
Correct. And I don't remember the year, but I was one of the first live pictures out of the Millbury tornado. I mean, we were at Lake High School the night that the high school was destroyed and the people died in Northwest Ohio. That was a tough night.
Yeah. It's different when you put it in that perspective. Even me interviewing you now is sometimes I forget these things, that like it's not all, sunshine and rainbows. Like it's a lot of pretty heavy stuff that you get into.
Well, and even if you're just in the studio, it's part of the job. I mean, you're running these pictures and you don't know what's coming at you next. A live truck's going to pop up and give you pictures that you've got to put out to everybody. And it could be an accident that it was your best friend that got killed in a car accident. You never know what you're going to hit.
For students in school, what would you recommend to kids that are maybe trying to look into maybe getting into news or getting into media? What should they be interested in that sort of sets them apart when it comes to that?
It's aptitude again, and the love of music or video or movies. And there's so many different directions you can go in the arts when it comes to this. Whatever it is, whether it's radio or TV or theater, movies, stay up on what the industry publications, TV news, there's all kinds of different magazines that are geared just towards television and news. And in there, they'll go over the new and upcoming programs, more so programs now than anything else, in the software and hardware that's available to do things that we weren't able to do a year ago. It's constantly changing. So staying up on new techniques is probably the biggest thing, and just continuing education in whatever field you're looking at getting into.
Yeah.
I mean, you have your base stuff, but you got to specialize too.
You got to like decide at a certain point, like, okay, like where am I going to take? Like if I like even me personally, like I kind of started with the love for music before I was even thinking about college. In high school, I sort of had a love for music, and then that kind of branched off into like audio recording. Then me and a friend got a podcast. So like I got very familiar with editing and mastering and mixing and music and podcasts and videos for not just my friends and my family to see, but anybody anywhere,
Exactly. And you follow your heart. You'll be like, I'm interested in doing this next. I'm interested in a podcast. I'm interested in this editing software. I'm interested in this mic. I'm interested, there's all kinds of things. And you kind of just work your way into a direction.
Did you have to network at all, or was it just like when you got in the WTOL, it was just, that's just what it was? Did anybody help you get this opportunity?
Actually, no. I kind of just fell into that on my own, almost accidentally. But as my career went on, I did help others. And in television, we were a mid to large size market. People start in small markets and they keep moving up and they chase the money, and sooner or later they end up in. I have a producer friend that works in LA. She does all the big red carpet events and so forth out there. She works for KCBS, I believe. But you get to know lots of people throughout the industry the years. I know the owner of PR Weekly because he worked at WTOL. So people move on, and then I've been able to help others connect with some of these people.
So it's really just like through the profession. You just meet people, and just like any profession, you're going to have those people that you like, those people that you don't like. But if you like Cindy and Cindy ends up going out to Los Angeles and getting a job out there, that relationship will always be like valued. And it's almost like a personal relationship turns into a working relationship turns into a personal relationship.
Absolutely. And you have a leg up, and the people who are doing college for this have a leg up in that area because like BGSU has their own television stations, or at least they did at one time. And we got a lot of our people from there, and they knew each other because they all went to school together. And it's like, we're looking for a video op, or we're looking for an audio op. And I know so-and-so, let me call them. There is networking, especially if you worked in that field or go to school in that field. I just didn't happen to come from the field. I just fell into it.
Yeah, so you were kind of an anomaly a little bit.
Yeah.
When you have a potential job candidate, somebody that's coming out and they want to speak to you about getting a job at your company, what attributes do you like to see from somebody that's going to be working with you or in a media-related field?
Well, definitely go-getters and people that aren't so much locked into a 9-to-5 because it is anything but a 9-to-5 job. Computer skills. I want to see a heavy computer skills. Networking. And networking, I mean computer networking. And some kind of history in video, or at least kind of like I was, an aptitude to be able to learn it. You can pick that up just by talking to people.
You can kind of see what they have to offer.
Correct. Some of our best hires were out of college, and some of our best hires were out of other fields, completely different fields.
But it's like almost having an actual love for it rather than like just like, oh, I went to school for this, or I went to school for that. No, if they can come in there and they say like, yeah, I have a YouTube channel, I have thousands of views, I've been doing this since I was 16. You almost like prefer that a little bit?
Yeah, it's a tough career to be in. It can keep you away from your family. But, 21 years in television, I've pretty much seen it all. And so it can be tough. So you got to really love what you're doing, or else it's hard to keep doing it.
Yeah. Were there any like big challenges that you faced? If there were any challenges that you faced, how did you stay motivated in going through them?
The motivation is kind of like also some of the hardest stuff. When you do cover a tornado and there's injuries or death, getting that information out there quicker maybe saved a life.
And you pretty much answered that earlier to me in saying that like that's a really hard part of the job, having to go to these places where like 4 kids may have died last night, or having to cover a shooting, or having to cover a tornado or a hurricane or something like that.
It's one of the toughest part of the job, but it's also one of the most rewarding parts of the job.
Y'all are trying to get information to the community fast, quickly, immediately.
Correct.
How has this career choice impacted you? Like, do you think that you've stayed the same through these years, or has you working with TV and television and media and video directing, has it changed you a little bit?
I think it's bound to change anybody a little bit. There's the television part where it's not all just news. You do a lot of politics. You do a lot of stories of new businesses opening up. So you get to know who the movers and the shakers are in your community, and you have them on shows. You talk to them. So you become more informed. And when you're a real news junkie, like I was, even when I left television, I couldn't stop watching news. I moved from Toledo to Colorado. Well, that was a whole new group of people to learn about. But just the constant striving to know what's going on in the world, in this country, in your state, in your local governments, all that kind of stuff.
It's interesting when you put it that way.
So I feel I'm more informed than I would be had I not been in television news.
If you're working with these TV stations every day, you're going through the mayor just did this, or this local politician is here for this, or the president stopped in town last week for whatever. You almost have to be more informed.
And even what I do now in Colorado, now I do corporate video basically. And these corporations, let's say Blue Cross Blue Shield holds an event and they have 2,500 people here. They also bring in speakers that are the top of their game in whatever field they're experts in. And so I listen to all these different topics and learn lots and lots of different things.
Is there any difference in like working in like, Colorado towards Toledo, or what is the biggest difference?
Of the two fields?
No,
yeah. Versus news?
Yeah.
News is structured. It's very much repetitive. You have your lead story, then you do weather, then you do national block, then you do sports, and then you wrap it up. You do that over and over and over. Unless there's breaking weather or breaking news, then you can drift from that.
But it's a little monotonous.
Yeah, it can be the same thing, especially when there's nothing going on for a long time. I hate to say it, but you kind of thrive on chaos because you want something to cover. And in corporate video, it's different. Every one I do has got a different look or different equipment assigned to it or has a different type of remote element to it. They're all just different. You know what you're going to go into with certainty of not knowing what was going to happen out in the world, but yeah, you would go in and you do the same shows over and over and over. You kind of get in a rut in TV. The corporate stuff, it's different. It's a different client every other day or each week or whatever it may be.
If I could ask you one thing to leave the students of Owens with, what would you like to say to them?
Well, find something you love to do in life and follow that. Because if you love what you're doing, it's not as much work as it is if you feel like you don't want to go to work today. You don't want to do what you're doing. Try and find something you really like.
I appreciate it, Steve.
Be that a television guy. Be that whatever it is.
Yeah, whatever you want to do it. Don't be afraid to dream.
Follow your heart.
That was Steve Bratton working at the Broadmoor Hotel out of Colorado Springs, Colorado. Thank you so much, Steve. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Akei.
This has been the Professionals Podcast by Music Business Technology and Broadcast Media Technology students. Join us next time on Outcast OCCR, Owens Community College Radio.